Today's the day I'm getting out of here. I've been running for longer than these opening bits typically last. Not again. Wait. A purple Mofoon?
Oh boy! A human in my neck of the woods! What brings you here?
Ooh, thank Bandai, you actually speak English. Look, I'm trying to get out of that hug fest of a forest.
Escape, you say? Then I've got just the thing for you.
What's a shake gonna do?
But it's my birthday!
Is it? Well, happy birthday. Alright, look. Last week was a blast from the DJ booth over there, but I'm gonna let Psycho Kaiza man the beats over there this week, while I break things down over here. As this week's KingOhger brings us the fight we've been waiting for. Gira v Racules Part 2. The matchup that's been built up since its first interaction. So, will it stand true? Well, we've got gold on gold on gold this week on KingOhger. We've swapped locations from under the building to right outside it, with Gira sporting a traditional transformation sequence. KingOhger ain't about that flashiness, unless it's him making the sparks fly. But Racules is there, so the spotlight falls on him. Even if KingOhger continues to not be about it. Too bad he didn't get the memo that Racules be cooking, and he's about to be king of Flavor Town. Serving up minced Gira on the skewers, but not before Spider-Man can fake him out. Rita goes in to arrest King D for attempting to kill Yanma, but gets pushback. Dabowski, who previously was attempting to get the scoop on Racules' Burger King crown, but failed, tries a different approach. So, it's now time for this week's lore. Dabowski questions the nature of that crown, but as it turns out, it is the crown worn by the ancient kings of Shugadam, working only for their bloodlines. A crown so powerful that it could possibly control the universe, but let's not go that grand and just say that it commands all the Shu gods. The thing is, why does Racules even feel the need to divulge all that information to Dabowski to begin with? It's because he just can't help but talk out to that man. But what he doesn't say is that the crown is useless without its weapon. So with that being said, it turns out that all the other kings are just chilling at Humanos, so Racules knows to call in the bugs. But it's Dabowski that planted a couple of bugs on his own. We now join Humanos sporting a brand new wig for the occasion. What's the occasion? Yanma got his ass beat, and now, with Gira unhidden, he's got the right to kick Racules right where it hurts, in front of other people. The issue is the crown, which Gira kinda sorta remembers is known as the Founder's Crown. Inherited, once recognized as a true king. So which is it? Bloodline or true king? Or both? Either way, they need the KingOhger, and without Dabowski, they just can't do it. They could force it, but Jeremy lost his main character status at the end of last week, so Gira makes a quick call to Dabowski about his sister, which kinda warms his icy heart. But the man's on a mission to steal some shit. So let's watch this play out, and he got caught. But that's when Suzume... Sorry y'all, I'm still sick, so I just need to hydrate. Walks on in, using her internalized Racules C energy to dominate the room, and her brother into submission, having him take on the role of a beetle, all to her amusement. Just to point out something that wasn't on that chair before. Seriously, I went back to episode 1, the gears were not there. Back at the fight at Ishibana, well, they fighting. But Racules has got a box.
What's in the box?
A crown.
What's in the fucking box?
I just said a crown. But that doesn't matter when Lebowski shows up in the cockpit with Racules' shaft at hand. See, it turns out that although Racules may be the king of Flavortown, Lebowski's the real one working the grill, since this man has been cooking from the outset in an attempt to steal the KingOhger from Racules. He just needed the key, and Suzume pointed him right to it. With shaft and crown at hand, what does he hope to do with those items?
And push it somewhere else!
That's right, Lebowski takes the crown and hands it right to Gira, giving us probably the most awkward transformation in the show thus far for me. Using his new Goldon King form, he forms the KingOhger Extreme! Thanks. I hate it. Gira takes a moment to call out how young Racules is nothing like the Racules he is now. A walking contradiction. Emphasis on the dig. Using Lebowski to star platinum himself all over a struggling Racules. Getting the beam kake all over him. But, as it turns out, while Racules was away, the Bugnarots have claimed Shugadam as their own. With this episode of KingOhger, we get the 2-for-1 look at King Okawagata and Kawagata Ohger. So with that, let's talk forms. Alright y'all, who wore it better, Racules or Gira? Because I'm personally on Team Racules this time around. Gira's is just too gold, while Racules has a nice balance between his original color scheming and this new suit. It kinda breaks things down a bit. If the same look was done, but red, it probably would have worked out. It's like last year. Golden Momotaro was a form where everyone else looked better than him wearing it. And if they actually give everyone this suit, but keep the Racules style of their colors, this might be a same story situation. Racules gets an 8 out of 10, and Gira gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Now, we just need Jeremy to go ahead and rock it so we can get a proper Gold 6 Ranger. Rating time! I think that the hype for this episode really got to me. It's been days since my initial viewing and a couple of hours since my recent rewatch, but I did find this episode somewhat underwhelming, and the weight of Gira and Racules' reunion just not being as impactful as it was previously. The highlight for this week was the couple of nuggets of lore and Lebowski cooking. But with some of the weakest fighting in the show thus far and the clunky mech on CG mech action, this episode will just get the Bioman beat. The crown in itself raises some questions this week, as Racules states that it's only the true king that can wield it. But we see both Gira and Racules use it. So are they both true kings, or can there only be one? In another manner, the scene where Gira confronts Racules about how he used to be and his aspirations as king back then tend to be a little bit awkward, as the flashback overlaps with the wrong present-day person. Or does it? See, I think the writers are playing a bit of a long game and are having a habit of seed-planting items that people might ignore or think that it's just an editorial mistake. But then, I start thinking, isn't it weird that Gira pegs himself as a tyrant king when Racules himself is considered to be one? When Racules had that very crazy laugh last week, it was very similar to Gira's style of pretending to be a tyrant king. And last week, I laid a theory of a potential third sibling, but the antics this week really do make me feel like the Racules in the flashbacks just isn't the Racules that we currently see. It reinforces it, but then there's another thing. The overlap of young Gira with Racules. Could they possibly be implying what I think that they're implying? Is the current Racules Gira? But then, who is Gira? Unless Racules, or rather, young Gira in his attempt to become king, tossed aside his innocence, and that took form in the current Gira that we see today. Thus, why both could be identified as the true king, and why Gira has the innate feelings to act like how Racules actually is. See, there's potential here, but I'm willing to see how the writers cook for this one. Lebowski was definitely the hit this week, giving us a look back at what he's been cooking up this entire time. Everything has been to try to take the power away from Racules, even roping in his sister in on it. Of course, since the crown currently only works on true kings and the descendants of the founding king, he knows that he can't use it himself. But instilling a more compassionate king on Shugadam's throne could work in his favor. Like I said before, what I feel weighed down this episode really is the build-up to a Gira Racules face-off that wasn't even a fraction of the intensity that we got before. KingOhger Zero remains to be a CG suit, and having a clusterfuck yet practical suit exist for the sake of a beam spam a la Strike Freedom Gundam just leaves a lot to be desired in the fighting front. But now, with the Bugnarok taking over Shugadam and Racules driven into a wedge that he hasn't faced before, it looks like once again we have the formation of a team next week. So, what did you think about this week's KingOhger? Racules getting the shaft, Gira claiming the crown, and the Bowski revving up those fryers. Anyway, that's it for me. Look, I'm still sick, and there had to be a lot of cuts. There's going to be a lot of cuts. Between this and the Geats review, I shot them both back to back. There were a lot of instances that just weren't going well with how my throat is feeling and all that. I'm really trying to push myself just to keep the content going. And look, I know you guys have a lot of choices in your Toku reviewers, and I thank you all for bearing with me this week. I appreciate it, and all of you. So, until next time, hey, is that a Grimace Shake over there?